Welcome to Mpowered Living. I'm Ann Sheu. On this podcast, innovative leaders and visionary experts share insights and practical tools for work, family, and marriage. Each episode, we'll explore how to elevate your life while staying grounded in what truly matters to you. You're working hard to navigate relationships, build a thriving family, and create a legacy of purpose. We're here to help you do that with confidence and intentionality. So if you're ready to live a life by design, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Mpowered Living, the podcast where we dive into the strategies, stories, and insights that help entrepreneurial families thrive. I'm your host, Ann Sheu, and today we're tackling a topic that affects every aspect of our lives: money. Our guest is the brilliant Bianca McGee, founder of Plan, Profit, Grow, a financial strategist and money mindset coach with over 20 years of experience helping entrepreneurs align their finances with their values. Bianca's approach is unique. She believes that financial planning should start with your family and personal goals, ensuring that your business serves your life and not the other way around. In this episode, Bianca shares the most common mistakes founders make with their finances and how to fix them, how your money mindset might be holding you back and what to do about it, and practical strategies to ensure your financial decisions align with the life you want to create for your family and for your business. Whether you're juggling your family's financial responsibilities or just looking for a way to be more intentional about your finances, this episode is packed with actionable advice and powerful insights to help you take control. Let's dive in. Hi, Bianca.
Hi, Ann.
I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Me too. I am as well.
All right, let's just dive in. So, I want to talk about what is the number one mistake that you see people make with their finances?
I think the number one mistake that I see founders making with their finances is that they are not being strategic in planning ahead. I deal with a lot of professional service firms and they experience rapid growth, and it's just you're trying to, just keep up. And so with that, they don't budget or have forecasts for their cash flow. And so that ends up creating some issues down the line.
What is your advice to them? What should they be doing? What are the steps that they should take to navigate those waters?
Yeah, so I think that it's kind of twofold. So one is being intentional. I think that a lot of times it's sort of like things are happening to us in terms of our business growth. And we get to this space and it's like, how do we get here? Is this what we're wanting? And so I think it's taking a step back and really thinking through what you are wanting to build, and being able to be aligned with that. And then I think it's also this environment that we live in now with entrepreneurship. It seems that what's being talked about a lot is bigger is better, and go, 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 grow, grow, grow. And so with that, there comes a point where you need to take a pause and you need to reset, and be able to really get your foundation and to check it, if you will, and to see if that's sturdy to go with where your business is going. And so a lot of times people don't take that pause to make those adjustments that are needed.
Yeah. So I love that your work is so aligned with what we do at Empowered Families, making sure that your life is really aligned with your values. I know that you coach founders to make sure that their business is really aligned with their values. So tell me about that. Tell me how you do that. What's your process?
I am a little bit unconventional, if you will, in terms of a financial thought partner. So I have over 20 years of experience in corporate 500 companies, as well as, with my own firm. And so what I noticed is that there was this disconnect between the finances and what you're planning for your business growth. And that being disconnected with what's happening at home. And so I think it's very important that you start first with your goals that you have for your family and for your personal life, and then be able to build your business goals on top of that in order to support those that you have. And so I think that it is a kind of tough thing to do, especially for those of us that consider ourselves high achieving and type A personality, where we like the success. We like to check the boxes. We like to have that growth. A lot of times, even with myself, what I found myself doing is anytime that I'm sitting and planning for my business, and for my life and just setting goals in general, I noticed that the very first thing that I started with was business. And so I knew that there were other areas in my life that were going by the wayside and that I wanted to put more attention to it. And that's the fact. Whatever we're, thinking about or what's top of mind is what's going to get attention. And so when I made those adjustments in my life so that I could have a more holistic success, if you will, then I was able to also bring that in and incorporate that with my clients. So when we're doing our annual planning or quarterly planning, we're not only just looking at the business goals and that side of things, but also thinking about what do you need at home financially? What are your goals for your family, for your lifestyle, for the community and the impact that you want to have? And then we make sure that the business goals that we're setting are aligned and are going to support those things. And so I think that that's important to kind of have that sounding board, and being able to have balance in that.
Yeah, that's spot on because, one of the things that we talk to our clients about is making sure that the business serves your family and not the other way around. And I love that you're bringing the focus back to like making sure you're setting your family goals first and getting clear about that and making sure that the business works to serve the family and not the family is at the beck and call and whim of the business. I love that. I know that you're also doing money mindset coaching. Now, I think this is so important because I feel like I don't know a single person who doesn't have some potentially, dangerous money mindsets. So, what are some of the ones that you see? What are some of the most common dangerous money mindsets that we might not even know we have?
Yes, that's a great question. Um, Really, it all can stem back to what we've experienced in life and trying to keep ourselves safe. And so, some of the ones that I see, one in particular, is just around mistakes, if you will, that are made in terms of money. I think that many of us maybe did not come from a background of experiencing entrepreneurship, or if we did, maybe it wasn't the greatest, perhaps. And so we really don't understand or comprehend just that roller coaster and the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows that come along with having your own business. And so a lot of times people take things very personally, in terms of the mistakes that are made, or turbulence that they may experience in cash flow, and feel that they aren't equipped or cut out to be entrepreneurs. And I think that's one of the most dangerous mindsets that you can have, because if you don't think and believe that it's something that's attainable for you, then it won't be. And so one thing that I do is helping my clients to reframe that. In my corporate finance days, I worked in a biotech and ag firm, and so there we have R&D. And so there's tons of testing, tons of trying to prove out new strategies to go to market, and it's the ups and downs. And so, but that's called R&D, and it's really code for mistakes and failures. But as entrepreneurs, we feel like that there's no room for error. And so it's just knowing that any mistakes that you make, it's not going to be final, and that you can recover from it. And so that's the biggest thing, is building trust within themselves and that they are capable.
What other impacts do you see people's money mindset having on their family and their teams? What's the ripple effect? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I think that it becomes an a couple of ways. So one could be because they don't have that trust in themselves, and so that keeps them from really going out and turning things around. Right? It's almost like you get into this slump where you're not able to move and progress the business forward. And of course, if you're not out there and doing that, then you're not having business development. And so therefore things don't turn around. And then it puts financial stress and pressure, on your family. The other thing that I think that it can impact is the fact that you're so scared, if you will, around money that you're not able to keep your boundaries that you have. And so then that could look like taking on, more work than what you've agreed to as a family, or not keeping the boundaries with clients in terms of, communication and work hours and various things. And then that also puts a stress where the family thinks, that you're working too much. So it can really impact not only the success of your business, but also I think the dynamics in the family, and then your relationships, and that can cause stress and strain for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So, what's your advice for people that have awareness that they've got a different mindset around money with whether it's their spouse or their parents, their family members? How do you navigate those waters where I've got one money mindset and what we often see in our clients is the couple,
Hmm.
each person has a very different money mindset. So how do you navigate those waters?
Yeah, I think it can be a challenge. And to be honest, depending upon how much of a friction there is, there could be the need to go to therapy and counseling to be able to work through that. But I do think that a lot of it can be resolved and prevented with open and honest communication. Um, Especially if one family member or spouse is an entrepreneur and the other is not, there's definitely this gap between understanding what the other is going through, what this looks like, the emotional, toll that it takes. And so being able to make those goals together, right? So if you have a business owner that's saying, we're going to increase our sales and revenue, by 1 million this year, and what does it actually take in order to make that happen, the sacrifices, and do you have your partner or spouse on board with what that's going to take, and do they understand that? Have you communicated that, or is this just your goal as opposed to a family goal, so that we all know what we're working towards? So I think that that's like the biggest piece of it is the communication, and being able to be on the same page with understanding what is required and what we're willing to sacrifice and what we're not willing to sacrifice.
If somebody is listening and they might have a blind spot around their money mindset, what's something that you could tell them to help them uncover their blind spot? Like if you think this way or if you find yourself saying this to yourself, you might have a blind spot around your money and your money mindset.
Yeah. I think one of the telltale signs is when you start internalizing things, right? So being able to separate um, a situation that has occurred and looking at it from a perspective of how can I resolve this, or what is the lesson, or what can I learn from it, as opposed to what does this mean about me. So if you find that you are going through a challenging situation and it's like, I can never, etc., where you're putting this on yourself as this is what you are internally and as a person, and that you can't evolve from it, then I think that that's a sign that perhaps having an outside perspective to be able to help you to look at that a little bit clearer and put some distance with it would be helpful.
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay, so in your work advising founders and entrepreneurs, If they're looking to grow and scale their business, what are some important things that they should be thinking about, talking about from a financial perspective?
Yes. So making sure that you have your foundation in place. So I think we say it goes without saying, but it does need to be said as far as making sure you're a legal entity, that you're registered, with the state, that you have separate bank accounts for your business versus your personal and not commingling that. Those are kind of the foundational things, making sure from a compliance perspective that you have everything that you need. But I think most of the people that we're talking to hopefully have all of that in place. And so once you go past that, though, it's really, again, about being strategic with what you're wanting to do. So understanding what your owner's intent is with your business. Is this a business that you are running, that you want to provide cash flow for you personally? Is this something that you're trying to grow to the point that you're wanting to sell eventually or take public or different things? What exactly are you trying to achieve? And so then that will also determine how you're structuring your business. So what size team that you're going to have to support you, the way in which you would leverage debt in order to grow, or are you looking, to have more free cash flow? Then when you're thinking about the pricing that you have and making sure that you're priced for profitability, because that's another one of those things. It's like just focusing on the top line revenue, um, but not understanding what that impact is to the bottom line. So you never want to be in a situation where an additional sale is actually causing you to lose money. So really focusing and getting that profitability correct. Another issue that I see is with team and being overstaffed or not having it utilized properly in order to maximize the revenue that you have. So ensuring that that's aligned, and then thinking through your expenses and making sure that there aren't what we call, money leaks. So looking at those to see if your spend, is mostly maintenance, or are these things that are helping you in order to grow your business? So looking at the ROI on that, and then thinking through just cash flow. And in terms of that, it's of course it being priced for profitability, like we said, but also the timing, because that's a big issue. Is like understanding the timing of the cash that's coming in and going out of your business, and making sure that that is aligned. And of course, with the environment that we're in today, making sure that you have a reserve, if you will, to be able to withstand some of those natural ebbs and flows that come with business. And that also goes with having savings set aside for taxes. So those are some of the key things that people want to make sure they have in place.
How much do you recommend in reserves? Like what amount of time?
Yeah, it really does based upon the business cycle and how long your time is that you can bring on a new client. So for some, businesses, they can, if you will, turn the money faucet on and have ads or various things, and they can quickly able to acquire new clients or customers. Whereas some others, like professional services, where it could be a 3 to 6, even a year, depending upon the size of client that they're trying to close. And so I think that that impacts as well, what you want to have in reserve, as well as thinking about what other access you have to capital. Do you have a line of credit with your bank, or do you have access to credit cards as a last type of resort? But it just depends on how quickly you can access funds. But I would say that a rule of thumb is around 3 months worth. As you see things moving and a slowdown in the economy, you may want to, spread that out and have, an even longer. But with clients, I usually would recommend not having more than a year of liquid available, because then you're missing out opportunities for other investments. But usually 90 days gives you time enough to make additional moves, or pull levers. So that would be a general rule of thumb.
I know that you made the leap to become an entrepreneur yourself. You were
Mhm.
working in Fortune 500 and now you've got your own business. So, talk to me about what some of the biggest hurdles you had to overcome were during that process, and how did you get the courage to actually make that move?
Mm. Thank you for that question. So I'll kind of start at the end and then come back. So I think the courage to make the move came with really understanding what my needs and values are. It really was stirred in me from the perspective of wanting to be more present with my family. So the time that was put in and that I was away from home, I also traveled quite a bit. And so it really was wanting, like I said, to have more time with my family, and even just for myself and my health. And so I also think that it was important to understand the impact that I wanted to have as well, in terms of the types of clients that I wanted to work on, the missions and causes, et cetera, that felt more aligned with my values. And so that was kind of the precipice or impetus for me wanting to go on my own and to have my own firm, because I never thought that that would be a possibility. I think especially because growing up, my grandparents both were entrepreneurs, but it was a struggle for them. It wasn't, all sunshine and roses, and they definitely were pushing for me to go to school and to get a good job and have a pension and all of those things, kind of things. And so it never was an interest, I think, because of that. But then I saw that it could be different and I could have a different life. And that, I think, partly was because I think that some of their struggles were because of not having financial counsel and support in that. And so since that was my background, then I felt like that this is something, that I could do.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the challenges, it is a different world and a different mindset. In terms of, it's one thing to have the skill set and the knowledge of what you're doing, it's another to have sales and business development, and all those kinds of things. So I think that that was like the major challenge. And it's something still, that I work through and have coaches on today, as far as trying to have visibility and being able to communicate the message in terms of what's the value behind the service and the offerings that I'm bringing. So I think that that is the largest challenge, is having to see both sides of the coins, if you will, bring in the business as well as with delivery.
If somebody is listening and they're on the fence, maybe they have a side hustle, they're maybe dabbling in something, but they've got a full-time job.
Mhm.
What would you tell them is the sign that it's time for them to take the leap, that they're ready?
I think that one piece, just because that's my background, is having a little bit of a safety net, right? So I think it's sold, um, perhaps, that it's easier than it really is in terms of building your own business. And so if you're able to have, let's say, 6 months to a year of cushion financially, I think that that would be extremely helpful. And that would be kind of a sign, because, that, going back to the money mindset that we were talking about, that's one of the biggest things. It's like, if you are trying to do business development and you're trying to close deals, you don't want to have this scarcity mindset and fear for your safety. So being able to have that kind of taken care of will help you to be a little more engaging and being able to close deals. So I think that's one thing. I think the other thing is to really have a balance of what you're trying to maybe get away from versus what you're going to. And I think that as humans, we're kind of more motivated by fear, and that can only get you so far, though, because of the effort that is required to be successful in business. You also want to have a why and a vision for what you want to create that's going to draw you towards that, as opposed to just being motivated by pain. So, really exploring what is the reason that you're wanting to leave or to go out on your own, and knowing that I think this, the saying that goes, wherever you go, there you are. So, if there are things that are happening, in your day to day job, um, really exploring the piece or the part that you're playing in that, because there may be some things that you need to address because it's just going to show up in the other place. It's like here is not better than there. So really thinking through that, I think, and being clear on that will help. And just the community and mentorship, being able to have someone who has gone down the path before that's able to help and assist and guide, that's just priceless on this. And it's going to save so much time and heartache and money if you're able to do that.
What should people look for in a mentor if they're on the search for one? What do you think are some important qualities, traits that they should look for?
Yes. So definitely you want to have the skill set that they actually are able to deliver on what it is that they say, right? So that could be looking, at their track record or their testimonials, um, those kind of things to really understand. Because in this day and age, there is the possibility that people can put up a profile. You want to do your due diligence, in that aspect. But even more so, I think it's so important to be aligned from a values perspective. Back to what we were discussing about families, because there are differences, right? In people who are growing businesses and they don't have a significant other or they don't have children. And what they're able to do and what feels like, a sacrifice to them versus a sacrifice to someone who has a totally different life. I don't want to say that they have to have the exact same life experience as you, but they definitely need to understand it. They need to be respectful of it. And so, where you can feel that you can be your true self, because that's one thing that I find, even within myself, as I looked at different mentors or coaches, but they say you're the sum of the five people that you're around. So, of course, you somewhat assimilate to what those in your circle say or do. And so, you just want to make sure that you don't lose yourself and your values and your needs based upon what your mentor or advisor is saying. And so by you all being on the same page and having the same values, then that can help to alleviate some of that.
Where do you think they should go look for a mentor? How do they make these connections with these incredible people that you would want to be your mentor?
Well, I am a big proponent of looking in your community. It's wonderful. We have, and that can be online or it can be, local. So I think that's the beauty sort of social media, is that we can search. And so being a part of organizations that are for entrepreneurs, that are helping them to get on the right foot, then that could be a great source. I also think that it's important to say and to note that you may not get everything that you need from one particular place. So it could be some organizations that are helping from a technical standpoint and helping you with setting up your business foundations. There could be another that's helping you to incorporate your business, and your home life and your family, and for that to be cohesive. And so don't be afraid to, maybe be in more than one space in order to ensure that you get what you truly need.
You talk about freedom a lot. So tell me a little bit about what that means to you and how does that play out in your life, in your business, in the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so freedom is one of the values that I have for a core value. And for me, it means having options and choices. And kind of a motto that I live by is having freedom to live and freedom to give. So when I think about freedom to live, it means in harmony with my values and what I feel, is important, and being able to make choices that support that. And so for me, an example of that is being able to have the freedom to homeschool my daughter, as well as being able to run a business. Both things are important to me. I'm very driven career wise, but I also know the impact that I want to have on her life, and that's something that's important to me, is to be able to spend family time there. And then that impacts me in terms of the way that I structure my business. So the ultimate size growth that I want to achieve, the number of team members that I want to be managing, how I want to structure the work, that I do with clients in terms of choosing to be virtual as opposed to having a brick and mortar location. So it plays into all of the decisions, that I make in terms of home life, but then also the structure of the business. And then the second part of that motto is being free to give. And so I think that it's very important for me to be able to be generous, but to be cheerful in my generosity, so that I'm able to give and not feel like that it hurts me in the process. And so that shows up in terms of, some pro bono work that I do for accelerators or incubators that have that serve underprivileged communities. I have aging parents and at one time grandparents that, was able to be able to help and to take care of. And also just with volunteer ministry work that I do, and helping in the community and different things. And so in order to have all of that working though, and to be free to give, I have to have the time as well as the monetary resources in order to do that. And so again, that impacts the business decisions that I make in terms of what does that look like in terms of how I support clients. Also thinking about the pricing, that I have in the business, and it being such that I am able, to do those things.
Okay, so what are some of the things that you have on the horizon for 2025? What are you working on?
I am excited for 2025. I am excited going with that free to give aspect. I will be hosting monthly workshops for business owners to help them in terms of the money mindset and the math, if you will, the strategy around being able to be profitable, and having positive cash flow. So that's going to be something open to the community. And I'm also working to start my own podcast. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's exciting. Okay, so if people want to get in touch with you, they want to follow you, how can they find you?
Yes, best way to find me is on LinkedIn, and that's under Bianca McGee. And also my website, planprofitgrow.com.
Awesome. Well, it has been amazing chatting with you today. I've learned a lot and I've got a lot to think about how I think about money and what I can be doing differently. So thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you so much for having me, Ann.
Thanks for tuning in to Empowered Living. I hope today's conversation sparked some inspiration and gave you tools to live more intentionally in your family, work, and life. If you enjoyed our episode today, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an inspiring story or actionable takeaway. And if you know someone who would love this episode, share it with them, because living an intentional life is better when we do it together. Until next time, remember, the life you want doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. Let's keep creating it one step at a time.